Over the next 2 decades, twice as many of us will be travelling by plane. And there's one region which will get the bulk of that new business: Asia.
Disposable incomes are rising, and more people are joining the middle class in this part of the world. And when they do that, they want to fly.
And later on the Fast Track Travel Clinic, advice for anyone anticipating a New Year escape to the Indian Ocean island of Sri Lanka.
And hotel insomnia. I'll be finding some new interesting ways to get a good night's sleep. Hello and welcome to Fast Track. I'm Rajan Datta. Now, as Europe and the US veer dangerously close to double-dip recession and legacy carriers continue to feel the pinch, a whole raft of new services, from no frills to ultra premium, are opening up in Asia. In fact, that region is predicted to become the fastest growing aviation market in the world. So, why have Asian carriers got it so good? Carmen Roberts now reports from Singapore.
Asian Airlines bagged roughly half the global airline industry's profit in 2010, despite only transporting a quarter of the passengers, according to the Association of Asia-Pacific Airlines.
This is Singapore's Changi Airport, where a flight takes off every 100 seconds. There were 42 million passenger movements here in 2010, and a quarter of that was from low-cost carriers.
If you look at Asia, the low-cost market constitutes about 20–25% of the overall traffic, whereas in Europe and in the US it's about 30–35%. So that shows there's a lot of growth potential in this market segment. And disposable incomes are rising, and more people are joining the middle class in this part of the world. And when they do that, they want to fly, and the low-cost carriers are really their first choice for them.
Gate change for passengers on SQ10. Please proceed to the budget terminal. Whizzing down the slide at Changi Airport is the young at heart CEO of Scoot, the new long-haul budget offshoot of Singapore Airlines, hoping to muscle in on this burgeoning no-frills market.
We're targeting the young at heart, and the people that want to save money, the value traveller that expects something a little bit different, a little bit offbeat, a little bit fun in their travel experience. Initially, we're talking about places like Australia, China, India in time, New Zealand, Europe, Africa perhaps, but first off we'll be flying to Sydney.
Its two main competitors are Jetstar, Qantas's low-budget little sister, and AirAsia X, an offshoot of that Malaysian low-cost giant, AirAsia.
It's not just the low-cost carriers like AirAsia X, which also offers long-haul services, but also Garuda, Malaysia Airlines and Thai Airways, which are tapping into this leisure market more and more. So there is a lot of growth potential here. Now, the question is, can you make money from a business like this?
They said that too when Zoom launched, the long-haul low-cost transatlantic airline, as well as Oasis flying from London to Hong Kong. Both those ventures lasted just 2 years. And let's not forget what happened when UK flag carrier British Airways dipped its toe into the low-cost market with Go. It was bought out by no-frills expert EasyJet. But AirAsia X is confident of its market share and claims the secret is a low-cost short-haul feeder network.
One of the strengths that has allowed AirAsia X to thrive where before people have not made it work is the strength of the AirAsia feeder network within Southeast Asia, because it gives many more destination choices from people flying in to Kuala Lumpur and connect onwards, as well as connecting the people in the ASEAN region into our long-haul feed. Now, a standalone airline with a new brand is likely going to struggle to achieve that same feeder network if you don't have that network connectivity. So that's going to be an issue.
We now invite our first and business class passengers to board the plane.
At the other end of the spectrum, there's also rumours that Qantas is considering an ultra-premium airline based in Asia, possibly called Red Q. AirAsia's Tony Fernandez is considering a similar venture called Catamaran Jet, slated to take off from Subang Airport near KL as early as May next year. But I can't help but draw comparisons between MaxJet, EOS and Silverjet, all business class only airlines based in the US and UK that all went bust several years ago.
Could history be repeating itself in Asia?
In an economic downturn, and we've seen how cyclical this business is over the last few years. When there's an economic downturn, the premium market is the first one to go.
Final call for Kingfisher Air flight IT30. But it's not all rosy. While the Indian aviation sector has been witnessing an increased passenger growth rate, majority of airlines have suffered from a high rate of debt and losses. One of the most indebted, Kingfisher Air, has sought government assistance as it cuts flights and seeks new loans amid a cash shortage.
The Indian aviation industry is in a crisis in that every airline is losing loads of money. The oil price is the principal contributor, but the state sales tax on top of the high oil prices, I think, is the killer factor.
Unfortunately, an airline like Kingfisher has a very high cost base. So therefore, when you have a high cost base and low fares, you don't make money. To compound the problem, Kingfisher also has a hybrid business model. It is a full service business, it has a low cost business, it operates various different types of aircraft, which then leads to complexity in terms of maintenance and so on. So all of that adds up.
But right now, Asia is all about innovation, and everyone is talking about the new tie-ups between traditional and budget carriers, like Japan's JAL and Australia's Jetstar, or AirAsia and Japan's ANA, or AirAsia and Malaysia Airlines. Could these joint ventures help tap into new international markets? Analysts are predicting as much as 9% growth in Asian passenger numbers in the next few years, and only fears of a double-dip recession in the West could dampen the mood.
Carmen Roberts there, reporting from Singapore. And as usual, we'd like your views on this topic. What's been your experience of travelling with Asian carriers? And have you benefited from the growth in services and routes? Email us at fasttrack@bbc.com. which is exactly what many of you have been doing over the last week. Jay Danson contacted us from Toronto in Canada to complain about air passenger duty.
I try to avoid booking flights through Britain due to the high air taxes. This means I no longer take stopovers in London, which costs both the government and the tourist industry money.
And we'll have more on APD in the new year on Fast Track. Meanwhile, Jimmy Hamer contacted us on our Facebook page to give a different perspective on the effects on tourism of the Arab Spring.
I think it's typical of the British media to quickly point a finger at the Arab world and create many stories on political unrest in the region. If you travel to the likes of Egypt, Bahrain, Lebanon, Qatar, etc., you'll find great hospitality. I wouldn't say it was dangerous, I'd say London was, for the fumes, muggings, thieves and gang culture.
And Cecilia Riley emailed us to say that she was enchanted by Fiona's nostalgic trip to St. Petersburg in last week's programme.
I visited Russia in 1976, which was still a Soviet era. It was a package tour and we had a lot more freedom than we had expected. Guided tours were organised for the morning, but we were free to do as we wished in the afternoons. I look forward to going back again. There is still so much I would like to see.
And thanks to all of you who took the time and trouble to drop us a line. Keep those comments coming, please. Right, let's see what else is hitting the headlines in travel this week. Pilots at Spanish carrier Iberia have announced 2 days of strikes on December the 18th and 29th over plans for a new low-cost airline, Iberia Express. They say salaries at the new carrier will be too low and fear job losses. Unions are due to vote on the plans this week, and the airline says they have a contingency plan to minimise disruption. Kruger National Park in South Africa has removed signposts that tell tourists where to find rhinos because of a surge in poaching. People used to be given maps pointing out where the animals were last seen, but that's been stopped after a number of rhino carcasses were found. Park officials say people visiting are still likely to catch a glimpse of a rhino, but didn't want to risk the signs being used by criminals. If you're worried about volcanic ash stopping you from holidaying in the future, this might be the answer. EasyJet and Nika Aviation have tested new ash detection technology by flying over Mount Etna. They hope the system will be in commercial use by next year's holiday season. And a folk troupe of firewalkers and knife climbers drew hundreds of spectators at a sports contest in Nanning, South China. Tourists from urban areas of the country were treated to fireball and other traditional sports, many of which had never been showcased before. Don't go away, because coming up after the break, Simon Calder is here to solve your travel woes, including new information about visa regulations for travel to Sri Lanka. Plus, find out what this lady, Vincent van Gogh, Groucho Marx and yours truly have in common. So don't go away.